Picture this, a man who has conquered every single obstacle placed in front of him, a man who has beaten The Rock, destroyed Brock Lesnar, silenced CM Punk, and just last Saturday put down his most dangerous family member in the middle of the ring at Backlash. And yet somehow, impossibly, that same man is now more vulnerable than he has ever been in his entire career. That is the reality Roman Reigns is living in right now, and if you think the worst is behind him, you have not been paying attention. Welcome back to Wrestling Juice, and if you have not subscribed yet, do yourself a favor and hit that button right now, because what is unfolding in the WWE right now is the kind of storytelling that comes around once in a generation, and you do not want to be the last one to find out how this chapter ends. Let us start from the beginning because context matters here. Saturday night at Backlash in Tampa, Roman Reigns did something that very few people believed was actually possible. He survived Jacob Fatu. He survived the most physically terrifying member of the entire Anwi family tree, a man built like a wrecking ball and motivated by something far more dangerous than pride. It took an exposed turnbuckle, a desperate counter, and not one, not two, but 3 consecutive spears to finally keep the Samoan werewolf on the mat long enough for the referee to count to 3. Roman retained the World Heavyweight Championship. He walked out of that arena as the winner, and by every definition of the word, he should have been able to breathe easy. But that is not what happened. Even after the bell rang, even after the match was officially over, Jacob Fatu got back to his feet and locked in the Tongan death grip until Roman was foaming at the mouth. Security rushed the ring and had to physically drag Fatu away not once, but twice before order was restored. That moment right there should have told everyone in that building exactly what kind of animal Roman Reigns was still dealing with. The match was over, but the war had only just begun. Fast forward to Monday Night Raw in Knoxville, and Roman Reigns tried to handle the situation with authority. He stood in that ring, composed and confident, flanked by Jimmy Uso, and he extended what appeared to be an olive branch to Jacob Fatu. An acknowledgement ceremony, a formal moment where Fatu could walk down that ramp, stand before his tribal chief, lower his head, and bring this conflict to a close. It was generous, all things considered. Roman did not have to offer that. He had already won the match. He had already proven his dominance. But Roman Reigns understands that controlling the family is about more than just winning fights. It is about commanding loyalty, and he wanted that loyalty from Fatu. It never came. Jey Uso found Fatu backstage and tried to reason with him, tried to explain what was at stake, tried to give him a way out before things escalated further. For his trouble, Jey received a headbutt that sent him crumpling to the floor. Jimmy Uso tried to intervene on the entrance ramp and got punched so hard into the barricade that he was effectively removed from the equation before the real chaos even started. By the time Roman came out with a steel chair, trying to meet force with force, it was already too late to control the situation. What followed was an absolute demolition. Jacob Fatu shrugged off chair shots. He walked through Superman punches like they were nothing more than minor inconveniences. He applied the Tongan death grip repeatedly until Roman's eyes rolled back. He lifted the World Heavyweight Champion off his feet and powerbombed him straight through the announce table with enough force to shake the entire ringside area. Even after Adam Pearce came out personally and begged Fatu to stop, the Samoan werewolf refused to hear a single word of it. He picked up the World Heavyweight Championship belt, looked Roman dead in the eyes, and licked it. He claimed it without ever having pinned Roman for it, and the statement he made in doing so was louder than anything he could have said with words. And then, as if everything that had already happened was not enough, Fatu sprinted back down that ramp one final time and launched a running hip attack that sent Roman Reigns and both Uso brothers crashing violently through the ringside barricade. When the dust settled and the chaos finally died down, the scene left behind was genuinely haunting. Roman Reigns was on the floor, bleeding from his left elbow. Jimmy Uso was laid out on the concrete. Jey Uso was still down from the backstage attack. And Jacob Fatu walked up that ramp alone, unhurried, unbothered, and completely in control of a situation that Roman Reigns had entered with every intention of dominating. This is the part that keeps coming back to me. Roman Reigns is a man without enough backup right now, and that is a sentence that would have seemed completely absurd even a year ago. The Usos are loyal, they are tough, and they are dangerous on any given night, but they have been systematically dismantled by a man who is physically in a different category than almost everyone on the roster. Paul Heyman is back in the picture, but Paul Heyman is a strategist and a mouthpiece. He is not going to step between Roman Reigns and a running Jacob Fatu. The tribal chief needs real help, the kind of help that can absorb damage and give it right back, the kind of help that is not afraid of what Jacob Fatu represents. So the question becomes unavoidable. Who in the entire WWE is both willing and capable of standing beside Roman Reigns right now? The same episode of Raw that saw Jacob Fatu dismantle the entire bloodline also saw the return of Seth Rollins. Now, on the surface, that might seem like an answer to the question, but when you look at what Seth actually did that night, the picture gets more complicated. He did not come back to help Roman. He came back fighting his own war against Paul Heyman's faction, and his first act upon returning was attacking Bron Breakker and helping the Street Profits and Joe Hendry pick up a victory. Seth Rollins is rebuilding his own army, and that army is just as outnumbered as Roman's right now. These are two men who have not been on the same side in a very long time. Seth was the one who drove a steel chair through Roman's back when the Shield broke apart 11 years ago. That is not a wound that heals easily, and it is not a partnership that gets rebuilt overnight. Which brings us to the name that has been floating through wrestling conversations for years now, the name that never quite goes away no matter how much time passes. Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, the third piece of the most dominant faction that the WWE has ever produced. He left in 2019, walked away from everything, and built an entirely different legacy for himself on the outside. He became a four-time world champion. He carved out a new identity. He made it very clear that his time with the WWE was behind him. Seth Rollins himself has acknowledged that a return is incredibly unlikely, suggesting it might only happen under extraordinary circumstances like a Hall of Fame induction. But here is what is impossible to ignore. The Shield was not just a great faction because of the individual talent involved. It was great because those three men genuinely had each other's backs when the numbers were against them. When the entire locker room wanted them gone, when authority figures tried to dismantle them, when enemies came from every direction at once, those three men stood together and fought through all of it. That dynamic, that specific combination of Roman's power, Seth's brilliance, and Moxley's absolute refusal to stay down under any circumstances, there has never been anything quite like it in this business. Roman Reigns is now staring down not just Jacob Fatu, but an entire branch of the Anwi family that has decided his reign needs to end. Fatu has made his motivations crystal clear. He has 7 children depending on him. He needs what Roman has built. He is not walking away from this because someone asks him nicely, and he is not going to be intimidated into submission by a chair shot or a Superman punch. This is a man on a mission, and the scale of what Roman is facing right now might genuinely require the kind of solution that nobody inside the WWE can currently provide. If there has ever been a moment in the last decade that justified pulling the trigger on a Shield reunion, this is that moment. Not a nostalgia act, not a one-night pop for the crowd, but a genuine coming together of 3 men who once changed this business because they understood that the right team at the right time is an unstoppable force. Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and everyone else aligned against Roman Reigns would be facing something entirely different if Jon Moxley walked through that curtain and raised his fist beside his former brothers one more time. Roman Reigns has spent years proving that he does not need anyone. He has beaten legends, conquered monsters, and outlasted every faction and every challenger that stood across from him. But even the greatest champions in this sport have had moments where the war was simply too big to fight alone, and this might be one of those moments. The Usos are down. Seth Rollins has his own battles. Paul Heyman talks a great game, but he cannot throw a punch. The tribal chief is running out of options, and Jacob Fatu is not showing any signs of slowing down. The Shield broke apart 11 years ago, and it has never fully come back together since. But if the Hounds of Justice ever find their way back to each other, if that reunion actually happens on this stage and in this storyline, the Bloodline Civil War would meet something it has never encountered before. And that right, there might be the only thing standing between Roman Reigns and the end of everything he has built. So I want to know what you think. After watching Jacob Fatu single-handedly take apart Roman Reigns and both Uso brothers in the span of one night, who do you believe is the one person who can actually save the tribal chief? Is it Seth Rollins burying the past for the greater good? Is it Dean Ambrose finally coming home after all these years? Or does Roman Reigns have to find a way to win this war completely on his own? Let me know in the comments below, and if you believe the Hounds of Justice still have one more run left in them, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed to Wrestling Juice, because this story is just getting started and the Samoan werewolf is hunting. Roman Reigns is running out of allies and the night is far from over.